everyone, Krista Moser here. Today I'm going to teach you how to do my Honeycomb Hexagon pattern. That's the quilt behind me. This is done with mostly 2.5-inch strips, and then the gold strip is in each one of the blocks, and it's in every one of the blocks all throughout the quilt. Now what I'm going to show you today is actually how to use the ruler that the pattern is illustrated with, as well as the option to use the diamond ruler, which has some of the same lines. So if you already have the diamond ruler, you don't have to buy a new ruler to use with this pattern. What I've got here is a strip set already sewn together, 2 wide strips and a narrow strip. Now here is the ruler that the pattern is illustrated with. This is the 60-degree triangle ruler from Creative Grids. And what we have here is the 60-degree diamond ruler. So if you already have this, it's going to be the second thing I show you. First, I'm going to just arrange my strip. Now, I had started with a trimmed edge before even sewing my strips together. So when I sewed my strip set together, the edge is already at a 60-degree angle. It just needs a cleanup cut. So what I'm going to do, I'm lining up my flat tip and then the 5.5-inch line. That flat tip comes in handy, and I'll show you another way to use it here pretty soon. I'm going to trim that off. Get one, and then I'm going to turn the ruler. Got the 5.5-inch line across one edge and that flat tip across the other. And these two blocks are going to create opposite hexagons. So we'll put them in separate stacks. Do another cut. And just like this. Now here's the trick that you can use. This ruler has a flat tip. Both rulers actually have a flat tip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that flat tip into the angles. This is an extra step. You don't have to do this, but it does help with piecing accuracy later. So now my triangle has 3 flat tips. Do the same with this one. Side. Put those in a stack. Save those for later. Now I've showed you that ruler. We'll do the rest of them with the diamond ruler. So using the triangle lines on the diamond ruler. Now this diamond ruler has got lines for diamonds, and then dashed lines coming across for triangles. It has hexagon lines in from the side, so you get a couple sizes of hexagons. You can get trapezoids and parallelograms. There's a lot of versatility. So we're just going to use the triangle lines. So here I am, the 5.5-inch line and the flat tip, and you'll notice I need to do a cleanup cut. Sometimes strip sets kind of wobble, and so that little cleanup cut will make my true 60-degree angle. I'm going to turn the ruler. Some more cuts. These will go in that stack. We need 6 of each. That one could use a little trim. And last cut, just making it. Set that aside. Okay. Just like before with these 2 tips, I can take the flat nose of the diamond ruler aligning this edge and this edge with the edges of my cut triangle. And then just take those tips off. I won't do it to all of them, but I will show you how this works. Now 3 of these together create a half hexagon. The other 3 will form the other side. You're never going to sew them all together, so we're just going to do 3 and 3. And because I removed those flat tips, you go to match this up. You have a flat tip here and a flat tip here. And once you've sewn all 3 of these, this flat tip will match up with the next block. So I'll show you how this would look. So that would go there. Like this. Now I've got some of these actually already sewn here, so let me show you. I did some of these earlier. And I just kept them in their halves. Now on these strip sets, I took my striped strip, and instead of putting it like on this one, I put it between the 2 bigger strips. On this strip set, I put it out at the edge, so I did the 2 bigger strips together and then my skinny strip. And so that got me 2 very different looking blocks here. I have one that has that as a border and one that has it as a dot in the center. So it just kind of creates a different element to it. You can kind of see. If we were doing rows, it would be like those 3 halves in a row, and then the next row down gets this one and another one here and another one, the other half, joining it. Because I removed those flat tips, you saw me do that earlier, when I go to sew these together, I have my flat tip here to match up and the flat tip there to match up. So to get my perfect 1/4 inch, you just sew that, press it open. The other thing is I tend to press my seams open. So when I do these 3 blocks, I'm going to sew that seam and I'm going to press it open before adding that one. So that way you end up with a really flat block. And I'll tell you, when you go to join these rows together and these intersections happen where the center of the hexagon is, and you've got 6 points coming together, this can get really bulky. But because I've pressed my seams open, it's nice and flat. So it won't give me trouble. Okay, and there you go. That's how you make a hexagon block for the Honeycomb Hexagon quilt. I hope you found something helpful here. Give it a try. Okay, and before you go, I wanted to show you the finished quilt. What you saw me do were some of the blocks that I used in this quilt, and so here we have it, all finished. A bunch of variety of scraps that I had. I just kind of did a baby size. And if you'll notice, I trimmed the top off straight. So the original pattern actually has a scalloped edge from the hexagon points. On this baby quilt, I didn't want it quite that long, so I went ahead and trimmed it off straight. But here you see the bottom and the top of the original quilt. It's a zigzag, so you can do it either way. As a matter of fact, if you've never done a binding in that zigzag form, I actually have a tutorial at KristaMoser.com, and it's called Binding Inside Angles. It just takes you through step by step, picture by picture, of exactly how to do the bindings. You get the top peaks and then the valleys too. It's really helpful. And here's the pattern for both the one behind me. You can do as many blocks as you want, like I did just for this baby quilt. And it's really fun to put together, just with 2.5 inch strips. In this case, I used my stripe. I also used the stripe as the binding, and I cut it on the bias. I actually did a YouTube video on that, so you can find that. And I hope you like it. Enjoy.